B'Shem Hashem Na'aseh v'Nasliach. Welcome everyone to our weekly shiur on the Parashat with the Perush of the Zera Shimshon. Today's Parashat is Parashat Vayeshev. We're going to be doing Bezrat Hashem Derush Yud Aleph, the 11th Ma'amar of the Zera Shimshon on the Parsha. This shiur is dedicated for the Refuah Shalem of Kol Chole Am Yisrael, especially Yosef ben Monabar, Yonatan Rafal ben Gladi Simcha, Revital Hayabat Gladi Simcha, Michael Levi ben Dina, Hava Chayabat Neda, Atarabat Lili, and Chayabat Sharona, and Yehuda ben Afarim, and Oshri ben Miriam, and Paribat Mohtaram. Betoch Sha'ar Kol Chole Am Yisrael. May the zechut of the Zera Shimshon be melitz yosher and give a refuat nefesh v'daguf to Kol Chole Am Yisrael. It's dedicated for the zechut and le'ilui nishmat the Zera Shimshon, Rav Shimshon Chaim ben Nachman Michael Nachmani. May his zechut and his guarantee that he says in his introduction beautifully. I'll read it, some of it in English for you. I implore you with 10 expressions of supplication to choose to study those portions of these novel concepts, the Zera Shimshon, and find favor in their eyes. Then he says, I'm going to read the rest towards the end. The measure of reward is plentiful, and so too is peace from heaven for those who do so kindly and graciously. Your eyes shall see wise and intelligent children and grandchildren like olive shoots around your table. Your homes will be full of all that is good. Neither wealth nor honor will cease from your descendants until the fulfillment of they will see the glory of Hashem and the majesty of our God. And that is the guarantee of the Zera Shimshon for those that learn his Torah. That's just a part of his introduction. So he brings in the Ma'amar. The Gemara says, Sota Perek Kama, Sota first Perek, page Yud Amud Bet. It says, in the Gemara in Sota, it discusses the episode between Yehuda and Tamar. Everybody knows the famous episode between Yehuda and Tamar. Tamar was Yehuda's daughter-in-law. Yehuda being one of the main Shevatim. And we're not going to go in so much great detail about the story of Tamar and Yehuda, but Tamar, in a way, I don't want to use the word tricked, because this wasn't not about trickery. Tamar was a big tzaddiket, a very big tzaddiket. But she made it so that Yehuda what? Yehuda noticed her, lay with her, and she became pregnant from Yehuda. None of this there's nothing wrong with it halachically. That's a discussion for another time. But yet, he still did not know that it was Tamar. 3 months pass, and they come to Yehuda and they say, listen, Tamar Zanta, Tamar has become a zonah, she's pregnant. She must have been with somebody. She wasn't allowed to be with anybody else. So he says, okay, burn her. If she's chayav mita, if she is to be killed, then kill her. That's the law of the land. This is a law of the land that Yehuda himself had put in place. To which when they tell her that she's going to be burnt, she says, Hakerna, for those, meaning she had certain items that belonged to Yehuda that she had gotten from him at the first meeting as collateral. It was his ring, his staff, and his shawl. So she says to the people, whoever these things belong to, that's the father of the baby. So they go to Yehuda. She said, whoever these things belong to is the father of the baby. Yehuda says, it's himself. So Yehuda had a choice to make over here. A very difficult choice. Does he say, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, what is it? It's a staff. I don't care. Whatever. Just burn her. And the story would have been done. No embarrassment for Yehuda at all. Or he could come clean. What did Yehuda choose to do? Not only did he come clean, he pretty much came clean publicly. It was known to his friends, family, whoever was there. And he said the famous words that he spoke, Tzadka mimeni. She is right. She's got me. You know? That's what the Gemara in Sotah discusses. In Gemara it says, Vayaker Yehuda recognized, Vayomer Tzadka mimeni, and he said that she is right. It is from me. Hainu Dama Rav Chanan bar Bizna. This is what Rav Chanan bar Bizna says. Yosef shekidesh Shem Shamayim baseter. Yosef HaTzadik, who sanctified God's name in private. Zacha vehosifu lo ot mishemo shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He had the zechut, he merited to have a letter of God's name added to his name. How so? As it says, Dichtiv edut bih Yosef samo. As it says in Parashat Zot HaBeracha, he made a testimony for Yosef. Bih Yosef. Instead of Bih Yosef, it says Bih Yosef. When Moshe Rabbeinu was speaking to Bnei Israel before he passes on, and he names each shevet, and he says a pasuk about each shevet, this is what he says about Yosef HaTzadik. Bih Yosef Lamo. Bih Yosef Samo. Edut Bih Yosef Samo. He made a testimony for Yosef on this day. So now, Yosef HaTzadik got a hey added to his name. Why? Because he sanctified God's name in private. When did Yosef HaTzadik sanctify God's name in private? Right. When Potiphar's wife was suggesting and trying to seduce him over and over and over. And it says over there, the pasuk says in the Torah, in that parasha, there was nobody there. Everyone had gone to some kind of party. There was no one there to see. No one would have found out. No one would have seen. Yet Yosef HaTzadik, imagine, a young boy. You shut that off, please. A young boy, as far as he knows, abandoned by his entire family, not wanted by anybody. No one's searching for him. He is a slave in the most rotten place in the world, in Egypt. He's as good as dead. Yet he does not succumb to his physical needs, where the Gemara says quite clearly, the Gemara says that Potiphar's wife was extremely beautiful. Extremely beautiful. But he still did not give in. He would not. But it was in private. So it says, when Yosef HaTzadik did not succumb to the suggestion of Potiphar's wife to lay with her, and he was not seduced by this seductress, a hey got added to his name, and that's zechut. Then it says, Yehuda shekidesh Shem Shamayim befarhesya. However, when Yehuda sanctified God's name in public, it wasn't in private. Zacha v'nigra kulo al shemo shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He merited that his entire name is named after Hashem. Yehuda has the entirety of Hashem's name, Yud K Vav K, is inside the name Yehuda. Because he publicized the sanctification of God's name, his entire name is named after Hashem. Has Hashem's entire name in it. Where Yosef HaTzadik, when he did it in private, he only got a hey.
Didn't it happen before Yehuda?
What do we say about questions? Hold your questions. Hold your questions. I'm just gonna second. Okay. So now, kasher, he says there's a difficulty here. Zera Shimshon says there's something of a difficulty here. Because by Yosef HaTzadik, you could say that he merited a hey in his name. He merited a part of Hashem's name in his name. Because after he did this good act, this righteous act, and he resisted the advances of Potiphar's wife, nitan lo secharo, he was rewarded with the extra letter in his name. Aval Yehuda Karu oto ken be'et leda. But Yehuda was not the same. His name was given to him at birth. I can't believe no one thought of that, by the way. This is a very simple question. I'm kidding. Oh, you guys are hilarious. Yehuda was born and he was named Yehuda at birth. So how could the Gemara say, because Yehuda sanctified God's name in public, he was zocheh, he merited having God's name in his name? What do you mean? He was named that when he was born, before any decision-making powers. Before he made any decisions to whether to come clean or not. Yosef, on the other hand, Yosef HaTzadik, no. That you could say he merited it because what? He sanctified God's name. Whether public or not, he sanctified God's name. That's how he got a hey added to his name later.
Sorry, what did his name become then when the hey got added?
So at the end of the Torah, right? So in the end of the Torah, in Parashat Zot HaBaracha, he's referred to as Bih Yosef, Yehosef.
When Moshe refers to him as Vayeshev.
Yes, when Moshe Rabbeinu refers to him, yes. We refer to all the tzaddikim, patriarchs and matriarchs by their titles. Moshe Rabbeinu.
Which is a question in itself, I feel like. Because we never refer to Yosef as Vayeshev, nor do we talk about how he got a hey added to his name.
Right. So it's kind of going to be addressed. It's going to be addressed here.
Got no question.
So he continues. Ve'od. I don't know if we're going to get to the second question, but he says, and furthermore, Ma'u hayunu de'amar Rav Nachman. It said because the Gemara says, when the Gemara brings this answer as to why Yehuda got his name and how Yosef got the letter, it says, Hayinu da'amar Rav Nachman bar Bizna. This is what Rav Chanan bar Bizna meant. Hayinu da'amar. This is what he was referring to. So he's saying, why does the Gemara state it like that? This is what he was referring to. Just say, this is what Rav Chanan bar Bizna said. This is what he was referring to when he said, just say, this is what Rav Chanan bar Bizna said. That's it. Vayesh lomar. She says, we can explain as follows. This is a very interesting concept. It says, even though Yehuda's name was given to him at birth, even though he already had the name Yehuda, and we're still saying, he was zoche to the name Yehuda. Why? Because he came clean publicly. He sanctified God's name. Even though, that hadn't even happened. He was born, he was given that name by his mama, by his mother. Even though his name was called Yehuda at birth, Nikra Zacha, we can still call it being meriting. It's still referred to as meriting the name of God. Why? He says he's brought this down in Megillat Esther, that when it says over there that on Zayin Adar, 7th of Adar, Moshe Rabbeinu passed away, and he was also born on the 7th of Adar. It says, Ma shekatabnu sham b'shem Sefer HaChasidim, which we wrote over there in the name of Sefer HaChasidim, which he says, that over there he proves that the actions that a person chooses to make during their lifetime actually affect the circumstances of their birth, surrounding their birth. Meaning, the decisions that a person makes during their lifetime, believe it or not, retroactively are connected to the name that he was given at birth, or she was given at birth. So that the reason so basically what he's saying, that the future actions, in a way, the future actions, good deeds of a person are, so to speak, predestined at birth. That doesn't mean you are destined to do certain things. It means that at birth, you are destined to have certain kochot to do certain things. You have it within you to do them. It's still going to be your choice, your option to do those things or not. But when you do them, it counts as a zechut. And retroactively it says, and that's why his name was called so-and-so. Even though he was called that already. Share ketiv, because it says, Uvterem tetzem mirechem ikdashticha. It says, before you left the womb, I sanctified you. That was in Yirmiyah. It says, before you even came out of your mother's womb, I had already sanctified you. That's what Hashem says. And it says, Ve'od amrinan, and it's also brought down, Asher kidesh yedid mi beten. Usually we say that at Brit Milah, we say this pasuk, Asher kidesh yedid mi baten or mi beten, that who has sanctified the beloved from the womb. Meaning, the sanctification is done before the birth even. That a child was already having those kochot of kedusha within them. So this was, in a way, a prophecy that Yehuda's name should be called Yehuda with Hashem's name in it. Is there any doubt that our matriarchs had prophecy? No. He was called Yehuda by Leah Imenu, and Leah Imenu through prophecy prophesied that his name has to be Yehuda. Right? So his name was Yehuda, and the prophecy within that was, someday Yehuda's going to have a choice to make. And when he makes that right choice of making a Kiddush Shem Shamayim, a Kiddush Hashem, then he's going to be Zoche to the name that he was given at birth. He's going to finally merit the name that he was given.
And what if he made the wrong decision?
Then not. Then not.
So why would he have that name?
That's a good question. So why would he have that name if he didn't make the decision?
But
In a sense, I think we see that, in a way, I don't want to get into the whole questions of destiny and stuff like that. You know? Predestined things and stuff. I don't want to get into that. What?
I said I would love that.
Ah, yes, you would. Yeah. You had a question?
I just feel like there's no need to overcomplicate the whole like destiny, free will thing. But the bottom line is, I feel like we will always have free will, but things will always be predestined. Like it's as if like so many of the things happen in the Torah are meant for us to learn from them. Like I feel like this was predestined that Yehuda would do that. It was still his choice. He could have not made that choice. But in a sense, of course, God always knew that he would have. And then it's meant for like, I feel like the Jewish people to be able to look back and realize that we all have choices to make in our lives. And they can lead to greatness.
Thank you. That was your answer.
Not really. Not really.
V'chol ha'imahot, and all the matri... Huh?
How come she gets
No.
to answer the question?
Bechol ha'imahot nevi'ot hayu, and all the matriarchs were nevi'im. All the matriarchs that we had were prophetesses. Kedeita b'midrash Rabbah sof Parashat Toledot, as it says in Midrash Rabbah, the end of Parashat Toledot, v'gara'u lo Yehuda lefi shehaya atid lizkot b'kiddush Hashem. It actually says in a Midrash Rabbah at the end of Parashat Toledot, they called him Yehuda because he was going to later on in the future make a big Kiddush Hashem. It says it smack in the Midrash Rabbah already. In Parashat Toledot, that he was called Yehuda. Why? Because he was going to make a Kiddush Hashem later on, and that was going to be a befitting name for him to have Hashem's name in it, in his name. However, with Yosef, we couldn't. So you have to ask yourself.
Why?
You have to ask. Why was it that Yosef's name at birth wasn't Yehosef? So if Yehuda had his name at birth with Hashem's name in it, have Yosef's name also at birth Yehosef. The extra letter should already be in there. Why wouldn't Yosef deserve the same thing? It says, but Yosef, you couldn't do that. Wow, this is beautiful. So beautiful. Because he made a Kiddush Hashem in private. So, and we didn't know, or no one would have known that he's going to be Mekadesh Shem Shamayim, or he's going to be Mekadesh Shem Shamayim. Because if something's happening privately, no one's going to know about it. Right? Therefore, if the letter Hey would not be added to his name later on, no one would ever ask, why was a Hey added to Yosef's name? for us to research the answer and go, oh, because he made a Kiddush Shem Shamayim, because he made a Kiddush Shem Shamayim in private, Hey got added to his name. If he was always Yehosef, we would have never known that he's done something extra and he received something extra because of it. Because it wasn't publicized. It wasn't something public. It was totally in private. Therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu made it so that an extra Hey is getting added later on in the Torah to Yosef's name for us to say, you know why this Hey got added? Because of the Kiddush Shem Shamayim that Yosef HaTzadik made in Potiphar's home. You understand? Yehuda's name was Yehuda because it was a public thing. It's straight in the Torah. It says, it was public and everybody knew about it. So okay, he's Yehuda. You know why he's Yehuda? Because he stands for truth and he was Mekadesh Shem Shamayim in public. Yosef HaTzadik, it wasn't a private thing. No one else knew about it except Yosef. Or at least he thought. This is what we're going to talk about today. Kemoshe Katava Iyun Yaakov, he says, the Iyun Yaakov says, Sha'al yedei shinui shemo yish'alu ha'olam ha'ta'am shel shinui zeh. Because of the change of Yosef HaTzadik's name, the world is going to ask, why was there a change in Yosef's name? Why is Moshe Rabbeinu calling Yosef Yehosef all of a sudden? Why did he deserve this Hey? What was the zechut for him to receive this Hey? Vayavo'u Ladat shediresh Shem Shamayim. And then they will come to the conclusion that, it's because he was Mekadesh Shem Shamayim. Ve'im haya nigra kach be'et ledato, but if he was called Yehosef at birth, lo hayu margishim klal, no one would really realize his name had any significance to sanctity of Hashem's name. Share oto ma'aseh haya baseter mamash, because that episode with Potiphar's wife was completely hidden and it was in private, in seclusion. Kemo has-sota, just like the sota. This story was brought down in the Gemara Sota, in a tractate Sota in Talmud. What does the tractate Sota talk about? A woman that is called a Sota. What was a Sota? A Sota was a woman that was found in seclusion with another man. A married woman that was found in seclusion with another man after being warned by her husband not to be found with this man in seclusion. Never be in private with this man. Now, has she done anything with this man? We don't know. That's why she's called a Sota. You do not know if anything went on between her and this other man. There's a question here. Dichtiv ba, the pasuk says about this Sota, it says, Venistera vehi nitma'a. She became secluded and might have become defiled. We don't know. She was secluded with this person, that we know. Did she really do anything, Asur? We don't know. Therefore, they would bring her to the Beit HaMikdash. They would interview her. And then publicly she would have to drink the Mei Sota, the waters of the Sota from the Beit HaMikdash. And if she actually had acted unfaithfully towards her husband, right, you're quick to say that. Yeah, she would die in the most excruciating way. She would literally blow up from the inside, blow from within. And if she had not actually done anything wrong, she would actually be blessed. If she was not pretty, she would become pretty. If she was sick, she would become healthy. If she didn't have children, she was not able to conceive, she would start being able to conceive. She would receive all the blessings. Right? This is what Chana Hanaviyah, this is what Chana kind of, quote unquote, threatened God with. When she wanted to have a child and she couldn't conceive, she in her words, she threatens Hashem. She says, if she's not blessed, she's just gonna have to try to make her husband think that she's cheating on him, so that she'll have to become a Sota, she'll go drink the water, and then God has to give her children. That's what she says in her tefillah. That's how badly she wanted to have children, right? And then she became the mother of Shmuel Navi, one of the greatest prophets ever lived, right? So that is the basically the gist of the story of the Sotah woman. So over there it says also, Venistera, she was hidden, so to speak. She was secluded and she might have become Tameh. So just as the Torah has this protocol to reveal what really happened with the Sotah that was in seclusion, a letter was also added to Yosef's name to reveal what really happened with Potiphar's wife. So the Sotah, how do you figure out what happened with the Sotah? Whether she really was defiled or not? She has to come and drink the waters, so that people will know really what went on. So that if she's innocent, her husband will know she's innocent. She'll be loved by her husband again. She'll be loved by the community again. No one's going to be like, oh, it's her. No, it's going to come clear. Everyone's going to know exactly what happened. So that she's innocent, everyone's going to know she's innocent. And she's going to be blessed for all the embarrassment she went through. Right? So Yosef HaTzadik was also kind of like a Sotah. He was in seclusion with this woman. Everyone's going to be wondering, what happened? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu added a hey. No one's going to ask any questions. Hashem added his name to Yosef HaTzadik. Just like Hashem adds, so to speak, his name to that woman that was a Sotah. If she was innocent, she becomes beautiful, she becomes pregnant, she needs children, she becomes blessed. What is that? That's literally Hashem. It's a blessing of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Hashem said, Yosef HaTzadik also gets my blessing through my letter, hey, in his name. So that everybody, just like when the Sotah is innocent, everyone will know she's innocent. So too, Yosef HaTzadik, everyone, all of history will know that Yosef is a true tzaddik. He was truly tzaddik when he didn't have to be. At least what anyone else would think. You know? Seclusion, no one's going to see it. Right? ומכל שכן, שמעשה הזה הייתה אשת פוטיפר מחשת. Especially with Potiphar's wife in this incident, Potiphar's wife was completely going against Yosef HaTzadik's words. Imagine, you're a slave. It's a slave's word against a noble woman of the highest caliber in Mitzrayim. You know, imagine her coming and saying, it's my word against yours. You think he's going to believe that I was trying to seduce you? You're crazy. Imagine that. She was threatening him. And she was right. She actually went through with it. She told everyone that he was trying to take advantage of her. Right? That happens, unfortunately, when the woman's not noble blood. And you know what I mean? How much more so when Yosef was a slave over there. Imagine the thoughts that were going through his head. Safety. He was going to get killed. Right? He was thinking like, if he doesn't go through with it, she's going to blame him and he's going to get killed. Off with his head. No one's going to believe him. No one's going to believe that he's clean. Yet he didn't do it. Yet he didn't do it. And as far as he was concerned, no one's ever going to know. He was thrown in jail for 10 years. No one would ever, as far as he was concerned, no one would ever find out about his innocence. Imagine the Yosef HaTzadik's honor in Shamayim. Every time we repeat those words, right? Be Yosef Samo. In the Parashat, when Yosef HaTzadik has a hey added to his name, the elevation Yosef HaTzadik's neshama gets each time when he says, yes, I was totally innocent, no one believed me. I was totally innocent and no one believed me. No one was there to watch, no one knew about it, no one saw, but I didn't do anything wrong. But no one would believe me. But there was someone watching. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always watching. You know, Rav Victor Miller, Zecher Tzadik V'Kadosh Livracha, said something very beautiful. Said that he came from Slabotka, old Europe. You know what I mean? So he was saying that in his experiences, like, I come from a place where the tzaddikim of that generation, the rabbis of that generation, the chachamim of that generation, he said, you would never even see them yawn. You wouldn't see one rabbi ever play with their beard or scratch their head. They were so perfectly put together. You would never catch a rav yawning even. They wouldn't bring themselves to such thing. Because that's such kavod. They had such class because they felt, I'm a representation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If I represent the Kedusha, if I represent Hashem, how could I just open my mouth in public? I know to us it's a very distant idea. Like we're thinking like, okay, you're yawning. People pick their nose all the time. You know? It's like yawning. But to them it was a huge deal. And Rav Miller was saying, it was because they constantly felt HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence in every moment of their life. You are being recorded every second. Hashem is watching every move. If Hashem was standing right before you and you're having a conversation right now, okay? Imagine Hashem, imagine he had a body for a second, Kav Yachol, Has v'Shalom, right? And he came down and he's like, hey, Gabby, I want to speak to you for a second. Would you even sneeze? I don't care how many feathers go up your nose. You'd be like, you will hold it. You will hold it. Veins will internally start like, you will not sneeze. Because it's God. You're standing in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Melech Malcham Lecham. How could you sneeze? How could you yawn? How could you raise your hand to scratch your head? Like you'd be shivering. That's how Chachamim felt at every moment of their lives. That's how Yosef HaTzadik felt. Those moments he felt, no one else is watching, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always watching. He knows. Imagine going to jail afterwards and thinking to yourself, maybe he didn't know. I don't know. Does he know that I'm innocent? I don't know. Anyone else would think that. Did Yosef HaTzadik think that? No. He went through all of it. Proved everyone wrong. And he got the hay in his name at the end to prove it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave this as a gift for the world to know what Yosef HaTzadik really did in private. Be Yosef Samo. Yosef HaTzadik's name changes to Yosef with the extra hay. Hashem giving him a gift of Kiddush Hashem in public. The fact that he did it in private, Hashem made it public. Aval Yehuda, but Yehuda, Shekidesh Shem Shamayim ba'Faresya, Yehuda who made a Kiddush Shem Shamayim publicly, Hakol Yod'im bo, everybody knew about it. Everyone found out about it. V'hayu yecholim likroto kach meledato. Therefore, from the beginning at birth, they could call him that. Because everyone would just refer back and go, you know why he's called Yehuda? His name matches him because of what he did. Did you see what he did with Tamar? Did you see how he came out and clear? And so he deserves that name. He was given that name. It was rightfully his. Hashem's name is in his name because he has this kind of character. He's so truthful. And he came and made a Kiddush Shem Shamayim in public. He didn't shy away. But with Yosef, at that time, nobody knew. You think anybody in Egypt, anybody else in his family knew what Yosef HaTzadik went through when he was in Potiphar's home? Nobody knew about it. Therefore, it had to come afterwards so people could ask, why did Yosef have a hay added to his name? Because he was Mekadesh Shem Shamayim. But it was private. So Hashem wanted everyone to know what happened in private with Yosef HaTzadik. Talking about making a Kiddush Hashem and talking about how Hashem watches everything. We've spoken about this multiple times, about how the choices that we make are recorded. Literally recorded by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Nothing is forgotten. Nothing is for naught. Everything makes a difference, and everything has repercussions for all of history. Imagine, for instance, Yosef HaTzadik, if he would not have made that decision to say no to Potiphar's wife multiple times. She didn't just go for it one time, multiple times. Imagine if Yosef HaTzadik had caved. What would be the history of Yosef HaTzadik? What would be his lineage? What would be of him? Right? You think when Yosef HaTzadik was making that decision, he was thinking, what's going to be written in the Torah about me later? You think he knew he's going to be written in, you know what I mean? Like, he's not thinking like that. He was just a kid trying to survive, literally. And we're all in life the same way. We're just trying to get by. We're not really thinking, does it really make a difference what I eat right now? Does it really make a difference if I make the choice of kosher whether versus non-kosher? Does it really make a difference if I make the choice right now whether if this kashrut is really trustable, it's not really trustable? Is it really trustworthy? It's not. Does it really, what difference do I make? I'm a speck of nothing in all this huge, vast universe. But we're not. What makes you feel, what makes you think that you're any less than Yosef HaTzadik? What makes you think that you're any less than Yehuda? You think Yehuda at that time when he made that declaration in front of everyone publicly, coming clean, you think he was thinking, I'm going to go down in the books for what I just did right now? I doubt that that's what he was thinking. He was thinking, this is embarrassing, but I'm not going to shy away from it. Let it be known. I'm a man of emet, I'm a man of truth, and I'm going to come forward with it. Whatever it may take. You know what it got him? You know who came from that birth? No, Tamar. From one of the children comes the Davidic dynasty, King David and Moshiach, and from the other child comes Nevi'im, prophets. Do you understand? Do you understand? It's incredible. Decisions we make have repercussions for all of eternity. Every single one of us. No one is insignificant. No one. I was listening to you guys know Rabbi Yoel Gold sends videos, very beautiful videos of interviews he does with different people, stories of life stories. I was listening to a very fascinating one about Mr. Aaron Feuerstein, that in the 90s, 1995, there was a huge fire in a huge factory in Massachusetts. It was a factory of fabrics and stuff like that, owned by Mr. Feuerstein. He was 70 years old at the time. He was having his birthday. And during his birthday party, one of his men comes to him and he says, Mr. Feuerstein, your factory's on fire. There's a fire. By the time he gets there, most of the factory is gone. This was the biggest factory in the United States at the time. Just imagine what this was. All gone. 3,000 workers. He had 3,000 employees in this factory. Right after the fire, he received notice that his payoff from insurance company is about $500 million. Just imagine how big this company was. $300 million was his insurance. That's how much money he received. Now, people, this is 1995. You know what $300 million was in 1995? A lot. So, what can he do? 70 years old, what would any businessman at 70 years old do with $300 million? Take the money, retire, have a great life. Or he could take the money, reinvest in another factory somewhere else, cheaper labor, and make double, triple amount of the money. You guys should watch the interviews. You guys should really search this online. I did. He made a public statement on the news. I think it was the next day. This is the statement he made. He's going to rebuild the factory nowhere else, right where it was before. Until the factory is rebuilt, all 3,000 employees will be receiving their monthly checks every single month, including bonuses. He paid every single employee all those months hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Supported all of them. Factory was rebuilt and they were all rehired to work in the same factory. In an interview, a news reporter asked him, "What made you do this?" Basically, what they're asking, if I may say so, what man in the right mind does what you just did? 70 years old, just, okay, it's over. You had a good run. Your factory's burnt down. It was in his family for 3 generations. His grandfather had built it. He was the 3rd generation. Okay, you didn't do anything wrong. Take the money, maybe send 1 bonus to the workers. Thank you for working so hard. And that's it. So they asked him, what made you do this? And he said that his father used to always tell him, "B'makom she'en anashim, b'makom she'en ish, hishtadel lihyot ish." In a place when there's no man, in this pasuk, when there's no man, it means when there's no morality. Man is referred to as someone that stands up for what's right, in this sense. B'makom she'en ish, if you're in a place that there is no man, hishtadel lihyot ish. Try to be that man. That is what he said to news reporters. His father told him. Rang in his ear. Just because other people do whatever doesn't mean you should. You be the better man. You be the better person. You be that light in the darkness. And I was just thinking about this passage. You could possibly define it a different way as well. That goes so well with Yosef HaTzadik. B'makom she'en ish, in a place when there is no one around. No one's there to see you. No one's there to see what decision you're about to make. No one's going to know what went down. Hishtadel lihyot ish. Be a man. Be moral. Be good. Even though there's no one around to see. Because if there is an ish, if there's no man, there's still HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's always watching. Do you know what a huge Kiddush Hashem he made? The incredible, he was in a different interview, he was saying, the guy asked him, he said, you could have just, taken the money and just gone. And he very surprisingly, he said, and do what? Eat more? Buy another suit? So that what? What a Kiddush Hashem. That's how you sanctify Kadosh Baruch Hu's name in public. But I think it goes very well with Yosef HaTzadik also. This pasuk, b'makom she'en ish. Just remember, I really like the sound of when there's no one around, even when you don't see anyone around, still, lihyot ish, to still be that same straightforward person. Even though you don't know if anyone's watching. We have the famous story of Reuven with Yosef HaTzadik. Right? They threw Yosef HaTzadik in a well. Reuven suggested it. He said, don't kill him, throw him in a well. Threw him in a pit. And the Torah over there says, it was a ruse. It was a trick. Reuven was trying to tell them, to make them put him in a pit so that later he can come and grab him and take him back home. Right? The Torah attests to it. And it says, imagine if Reuven knew what the Torah is going to say about him. If he only knew that the Torah is going to attest to the fact of how kind-hearted he was being. He was trying to save Yosef HaTzadik's life. If he had known that such a thing would be written about him centuries later, thousands of years, it's going to be read every single day, every Shabbat it's going to be read. You know what he would have done? He would have taken Yosef, put him on his shoulders and ran home. Forget about putting him in a pit. If only we knew how much every act that we do, how much it has an effect, it would change our decision making so much. We would make such different decisions in our lives. If at every moment we would think, I am being watched, and Hashem is with me every step of the way, even if it's going to seem very difficult, even if it seems very bleak, doesn't matter. The right decision needs to be made, and I'm going to make it, and Hashem's going to be with me. You never know. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu records everything in Sfarim. Everything's recorded. You never know. We're all going to be in that huge Torah scroll when Moshiach comes. We're all going to be in that book of history. We're all a part of that history. No one's insignificant. I think that's the strongest message. One of the strongest messages we could take home from this parasha, mamash. One of the strongest messages we can take. It kind of gives me shivers in my body. It really does. I was discussing it with my wife the other night as well. Just, to imagine that you're constantly in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's what a Jew has to feel. We are constantly in front of Hashem. How would you act? How would you carry yourself? Maybe there are things we could learn from the Chachamim of Slabotka. How they held themselves, how they carried themselves. That's what a Jew needs to be. I am always a prince. I am always before the king of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I represent the king of the universe. People look at me and they say, that's a representation of God's glory. So it's not about dress codes. It's not about, how far is it called tzniut? If it's up to here, is it tzniut? If it's up to here, is it... How many inches does it have to be below the knee for it to be called tzanua? How much of your hair has to be covered? What kind of sheitel should a person wear? All these questions so many people have would not be a question. It would just, if you would just take a moment and think, how does it look in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? How do I look in front of the Shekhinah? Every single one of us, man and a woman, is before the Shekhinah. How do you want to look in front of the Shekhinah? How do you want to represent yourself in front of Hashem's glory? I don't think it goes by measurements. I don't think that's how it works. I come from a world... my grandparents, great-grandparents, I doubt that they dealt with measurements. How far does your skirt going to come down? How far? Where is your neckline? They didn't deal with that. It was built in. This is what it means to be a woman. This is what it means to be a Jewish wife, a Jewish woman, to represent HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is what it means to be a Jewish man. Sometimes people ask me, about these, rabbinic hats. Do Sephardim wear them? Do Sephardim not wear them? We're not even going to get into that. But my grandfather, Alav Shalom, who was born in Iran, wore a hat all the time. He wouldn't go out without his hat. It was disrespectful if he would step out of the house without a hat. He always had a pressed vest, pressed jacket, suit. That's how he went out. Clean. That's how a Jew represents HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why do you wear a hat? Because that's what a mensch does. At least those days, that was the dress code. And you need to have the dress code as a mensch. You present HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Doesn't matter you're a rabbi, you're not a rabbi, you're a rebbitzin, you're not a rebbitzin. Don't think in those terms. These are new terms. What really matters is, how do you want to represent HaKadosh Baruch Hu? That's what we have to think on a daily basis. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Amen ve'amen.